Okay. So we have a wolf problem in the United States, and the problem breaks into two pieces. The first is the sheer number of wolves. I think roughly we have about 90,000 wolves in North America if we count Alaska and Canada and the United States. 90,000 wolves. We have 500 in Oregon, 2,600 in Idaho, and then of course the thousands in Alaska. Here's the problem: the wolf's not going to go away. That's a given. The question is, how do we recognize and reimburse those who are bearing the cost, which of course are the ranchers and farmers and others. But those costs are huge. About 126 million is what it's been estimated in 3 different studies that is costing ranchers across the United States each year. Your agency has been extremely helpful, by the way, in the areas where the wolf remains listed. And I know that your agency, and in fact the last 4 administrations, has suggested that the wolf be delisted. So we all agree, the courts apparently don't, but the wolf needs to be delisted. But in the meantime, we constantly reach out to your agency to come in and try to haze wolves after they kill cattle and calves, as has been happening probably as recently as today. And I get call after call after call after call of people incredibly frustrated, and I refer them to you. Can you tell me how that's working in your agency?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Congressman. And there's not, I don't believe there's a day since I've been in this job since August 18th when I haven't had at least one discussion during the day about gray wolves or Mexican gray wolves. And so I do recognize this is a significant issue across not only the places that oftentimes are recognized for having wolves, but really it's now in places where 5-10 years ago we didn't have issues with gray wolves. They've moved into a lot of new places, and so at the end of the day, you're right. I think that turning management of a recovered species and getting across the finish line there is the long-term solution. I think the short-term solution is continuing to work locally with not only our federal partners like Wildlife Services, but also with the states to enable them and provide flexibility, even with a listed species, to help deal with producers and handle their problems. Not handle their problems, they all want to handle their own, but to help them and assist them to do things they can't otherwise do.
Right. In an almost impossible situation. Let me shift. We are seeing an absolutely noticeable and incredibly frightening decline in mule deer populations across my district. My district is one of the largest, that's not a state, in the United States, about 70,000 square miles, almost bigger than the state of Washington. And we have seen this huge and frightening decline in mule deer populations. I would ask you to please focus on that. And then I want to turn my attention to the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, which is in my district. It's about 200,000 acres. One of the people who has some of that land leased called me yesterday. He had no idea you would be here today, so it's fortuitous. The question he was asking is, how come, because we are having an abnormally warm winter, the hay that's been, or the grass that's been rake bunched across the many acres of the refuge is remaining unconsumed by the cattle that are allowed to graze there, and thus is creating an additional fire hazard. And so what should happen is there should be an extension of time to leave the cattle there so that they begin. The reason they're not eating it now is the grass is still green, and for real, and that's highly unusual. But there needs to be, the people running the refuge need to adapt to this situation. Mm-hmm. We have an incredible invasion of species, weeds, across the BLM and of course the refuge. And I would strongly recommend that there be a more aggressive grazing approach used to help drive back this what is truly a huge danger, not just to the purpose of the refuge, because those weeds are not amenable to birds. And I want to, this is extremely important to me. I grew up not far from this. My granddad was involved in establishing a portion of the refuge. So I just would ask you to reach out perhaps to the leaders of that and refuge and talk to them. With that, Madam Chair, I yield back.